Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is creating unity through music. And we're not in Studio 1 of the Planetary Gigs Society Worldwide Headquarters today. We are in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And I have the unbelievable personal pleasure to be able to talk with a person I'm glad to call my friend, but who is, I think, one of the most inspiring and creative and open people that I've ever met.
Queen of the universe, Jeff. Come on with it, baby.
The Queen of the universe is here in the Planetary Gig Society.
I need something bigger than Queen because it has to embrace King. It has to bring.
You're Q-Pac, I think you are.
Q-Pac. Yeah, right. Q-Pac Shakur. That's my hip-hop name.
The amazing Gaye Adegbalola is here, and I'm so thankful that we're able to come down and you're able to take the time. And thank you very much for being able to do this.
I'm glad it worked out. You know, I'd do just about anything for you if it wasn't for Julie.
Oh, my goodness. So
okay.
I first remember you, I went to Blues Week at Davis and Elkins College, Elkins, West Virginia, Augusta Heritage Center, in about 1998. I didn't really know of your career, Saffire or whatever before, but I saw you there, and you were just sort of a vision, and I was just amazed at who you were and what you did and how you put it out there. And I was just kind of this middle-aged, balding white guy trying to learn the harmonica, making some feeble attempts at doing that. And I remember telling Julie, I said, I really want to know this person, Gaye. I don't know what it was. Honestly. But, since that time, I have gotten to know you, become familiar with your work. You amaze me all the time. We've had some projects together, which I'm thankful for as well. But I just, it's a great opportunity to be able to talk a little bit about, music in your life and your perspectives on things. And I know you have perspectives on things.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, I mean, when do you really remember music sort of in your life, coming into your life? Did your family sing, or was it in your family? Did you take lessons early on? What was really your start?
I guess music was around me all my life. I don't remember its start per se, but my dad always played music, and when I was coming up, he had a little jazz combo that usually played at a place up on Route 1 called the Silver Perch, and he played at the Marine Corps bases and places like that. It was a little jazz combo. He played drums. And my mom, she ran the teen canteen, which had a jukebox. And every time the jukebox was changed, all those records came home to me. So music has been around me all my life. I guess the first attempts at making music, the first attempt was on the street corners, like 2 blocks away, where the supermarket had a blinking sign with neon lights, and we'd stand on the street corner and sing. You hear so much about a cappella stuff on the street corners. Well, that was my beginning.
Well, who were you singing with?
No, just whatever kids were around. A shoo-doo and shoo-be-doo kind of stuff. Because you hear so many people say, "Oh, I got my start in the church." No, that was not where I got my start. I got my start on the street corner, yeah. And the very first song I ever wrote, my mom ran the playground for the black kids. Mind you now, I grew up in apartheid. Things were very segregated when I came up.
Like 50s? Is that?
Yeah, I was born in 44.
Okay.
But I went to the black school. I went to the black church. Everything was really segregated when I grew up. And my mom petitioned the city council in order to have a playground for black youth in the park. And she would come up with all these great ideas for kids to do things. And one of the things she came up with was a little songwriting contest.
Nice.
And the first song I ever wrote was On the Playground. And you want to hear it?
Sure, yeah. How old were you?
Oh, I don't know.
6, 8?
Maybe 8. I'm not sure. But I was young, yeah. And the song went like this. I have a dog and his name is Flip. Wish I could take him on a trip. He'll stay home, be all alone. I'll bring him a great big bone. Flip, flip, come here, flip, 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 come here, flip, 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 come here, flip. I have a bone for you.
Whoa, yay, that was amazing.
And mind you, that I was very pissed that I didn't win first place.
Oh, well, I can't imagine you didn't.
But everybody wrote songs basically to tunes that they knew. So it wasn't that I came up with the tune. I didn't come up. The first song I wrote, my friend Pam across the street from me, her people had a piano. And actually, I wrote a song on her piano, not knowing chords or anything. I guess I was playing piano long before I played, guitar or anything. My mom and dad made me take piano lessons, and I hated every minute of it. Yeah, hated it. So, yeah.
So you got your start right around here, and then did you pick up an instrument in particular after that, when you were beginning to be a teenager? Or
when I was in high school, I was in the band. Now, mind you, our school only had about 150 kids, but our band had about 75 or 80 people.
Wow.
Every other person played an instrument. And in order to get an A in band, you had to practice 2 hours a night. I'm very proud, and I can show you in the other room. I have a citation cord that I could wear on my uniform because I was a straight A student in band.
Nice.
I played flute, and I played piccolo, and I was so thankful I played piccolo because it could make a lot of noise in the marching band. And I made 3 years, I made all-state band, first chair flute.
Wow, I didn't know that. So you were a flautist.
Yeah.
Flutist.
I flouted it, baby. Yeah, I was really, and I think I might have majored in music had not my music teacher gone to another school my senior year. Mm-hmm. And I ended up majoring in science, biology. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then, I know you were a teacher, but did you kind of keep up the music after you got out of, after your teens? Have you always been playing music, or did you sort of put it aside to teach? Or
I didn't put it aside to teach. Let's see. My college roommate bought a guitar. I think she saw, I went to school in Boston, and I think in Harvard Square she had seen either Mississippi John Hurt or somebody like that. And that inspired her to go buy a guitar that she ended up never touching. So I was able to buy her a guitar, this wonderful, wonderful 63 Martin.
Nice.
That I paid $150 for. She let me do it on the installment plan. And that became my baby. So, 3 chords and a capo, and you can play just about any folk song or
right.
just about any rock song. And I started jamming in the dorm. Once I learned that I could play along with Joan Baez records, it was like, damn, I'm good.
Wow, I wish I'd have realized that.
Yeah, well,
then.
it's that Travis, well, they call it a Travis pick.
Oh, I love that.
But it's where you use your thumb to play the bass line. So I learned that back then. And then the guitar had been under my roommate's bed, but as I moved through life, the guitar was kind of kicked to the side until I really joined the Black Power movement. And in Harlem, in the late 1960s, I would play on the street corners. And we had a group, and the group would sing on the street corners songs of what we called at the time revolution. We had moved beyond the civil rights era, and we were into the Black Power thing full force. And I used my guitar to write songs and to sing songs on the street corners. In 1970 or so, maybe 71, I moved back home to Fredericksburg. My ex-husband was in jail. I had a baby. I couldn't make it in Harlem by myself. Plus, things were getting really fairly wicked in terms of the pressure from the police and the authorities.
This is mid-'60s, sort of?
No, this is late 60s.
Late 60s, okay.
So I moved back home with my son. My son was born in 69. I moved back home in 70. I kind of like just floundered around for a bit. Didn't even have a job.
You were playing the guitar through all that? No.
Not then, but I got a job teaching science in probably 72. And I hadn't even had any teaching classes, but it was like really cool because science teaches itself. All you got, it's like doing magic, you know?
Yes.
Now, meanwhile, my son is an infant and my guitar is under the bed. But when he goes to sleep at night, I can't go out. I can't party.
Yeah.
And I named that 63 Martin guitar, I named it Baby.
Baby.
Yeah, Baby is right in the other room. I called it Baby because that's who I held in my arms every night. That was my baby. And I learned to, you know, back then, in order to learn the words to a song, you had to listen and write down 2 words, go back and listen and write down 3 more words. And then if you got lucky, you transferred it to cassette because it was easier to rewind the cassette back and forth and back and forth. And so I was able to transcribe the lyrics, figure out the chords, type them up, and I built a repertoire. Now, I had no idea where any of this was going.
And what kind of songs were those at that time that you were?
At that time, I was doing what I loved. I was kind of doing doo-wops. At that time, also, I guess my greatest muse was Nina Simone. Nina Simone sang and embraced her blackness.
Sure did.
And that's what I had to learn how to do. Because there's a time in every black woman's life when you try to emulate white people. You know, you straighten your hair, you wear certain makeup, you wear certain clothes, you wear certain colors, and you start thinking that your real self is ugly. It was in 68 that I stopped straightening my hair. I haven't straightened it since. And it was in 68 that I started wearing bright colors. And it was in 68 that I started using an African name. No, it's not my government name, as they call it. But I embraced who I was. So the music I was listening to, I started to figure out the chords to What's Going On, for example, or Mr. Backlash, for example. It was the height of the protest against Vietnam. However, I had decided not to go on the streets again. I had been involved in a protest in New York City in front of the United Nations building, and I came down with a delegation from Harlem protesting the war in Vietnam, and cops on horseback formed a V in front of us and ran their horses right into our delegation, swinging their billy clubs. And I heard the person next to me get beat. I heard screams. I heard people run out of their shoes. I ran up against the wall so that they couldn't hit me. And then I ran into a subway, and I didn't even know where the subway was going. But anyway, that was the last time I was really involved in a big protest march. At any rate, I lost my track. I started playing songs of protest. And when I came back home, my dad had started a little theater group. Schools were just starting to desegregate, not integrate, desegregate. Mm-hmm. And the creative kids who had been in the black school didn't really have creative outlets in the white schools. The boys in particular, if they were athletes, of course they were embraced. Yeah. But what did you do with the kids who were really creative? Well, my dad started a little theater group, and I worked with the theater group. It was in existence for decades, even after my dad died. And then I started playing guitar for different songs that were necessary and different group songs and what have you. I remember one song we did was a parody of the Ode to Billy Joe, and I was playing guitar for that. So what happened eventually, my son is legally blind, and he was having immense difficulties, and we were having immense medical bills, and I had to supplement my income because I was a single parent now. And I started playing in a little bar called The Palms on Princess Anne Street, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday for $25 a night. And so that's $75 a week, and that's $300 a month, and that's what got me into the quote-unquote music business.
And what year was that?
That was 79, 80, 81. And then as it happens, I've had a few club owners do me wrong. And one night I walked into work, and the barmaid tells me, "Hey, Gaye, we're not going to need you anymore. We're going to go to a different format, and they're opening another room on the other side here." And so that was, I had brought in plenty of money for those people, and all of a sudden, they're telling me I don't have a job, no warning. And that was my first interaction. I noticed their business, but it was my life. And they really screwed with my life for a while. I got another job as a song stylist.
A song stylist? What is that?
It was in a place called Tolliver's on the other side of the river. It was on Sunday nights. And I dressed up in dresses and heels. And I did songs like Don't Get Around Much Anymore. And songs like, I'm trying to think of the song now. But anyway, I did a lot of Billie Holiday and stuff like that. And what happened was, we were packing the club, absolutely packing the club on Sunday nights, but all of a sudden, all of these gay guys kept coming. I didn't even know we had that many gays in Fredericksburg. I loved it, and the wait staff loved it because they were so thankful to have a place to come.
Right.
That they were big tippers. I mean, big tippers. I was brought flowers just about every night. And again, I came there, it was right before Christmas, and I was told that management didn't want me anymore. And he didn't want that clientele. And the easiest way for a venue to control the clientele is to change the kind of music they play. Huh. So, but here I was again, right before Christmas, with no job and no warning. Eventually in '84, I got a call to play at a Holiday Inn, Holidome, which was a hotel that had an inside pool and a big lounge. And I knew my little guitar wasn't a big enough sound. And it was like, oh, guess who's back in town? Ann Rapson.
Oh, right. How did you know Ann?
I knew Ann because before she went north for another husband or boyfriend or something, I took some lessons from her.
Oh.
I had heard her
guitar?
play it. Guitar.
Yeah.
I had heard her play it. Oh my gosh, she's wonderful. She is absolutely wonderful. And more so than, and she told me, I'm not going to work with you unless you know how to finger pick. Well, lo and behold, I knew how to finger pick. And I liked her repertoire. It was her repertoire that was exciting to me, more so. And that's what I learned more than the finger picking, because my technique was quite similar to hers.
And her repertoire was blues.
Oh, deep Bessie Smith all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And who else around here played that kind of music? No one. So anyway, Ann was back in town, and I called her up and I said, hey, Ann, I got a gig, but the room is too big just for my guitar. Would you like to play with me? And Ann said, I'm playing piano now. Well, great. And she said, but I don't have a piano. So we used to sneak into Mary Washington College. It was Mary Washington College at the time, practice rooms. And we started working up a repertoire. And we went to that Holiday Inn gig. And it started out, Sunday night was the off night. and the lounge it grew to be packed. And then you know how hotels have doors that section off different parts of the hotel to make a room bigger or smaller. They opened it to a second room, and then they opened it to a third room, and we were packing the joint on Sunday nights.
Huh?
Oh, we were having a ball. And Ann was teaching part-time at the community college, and Earlene was in her class, computer class. Earlene's dad died, and she needed to go home. So to make up her test, Ann said, well, I'll come by your house and give you the test. And guess what? Earlene had a piano.
Wow.
So Ann and I went over there, and when Earlene finished her test, she came downstairs and joined in with us. She played bass with a bluegrass band, but she started playing with us a little bit. And as you may or may not know, people pay you differently as a trio than as a duo. As a duo, you're still solo duo, and they pay you X amount per person. But if you are a trio, they call you a band, and they pay you as a band. So we went back to the Holiday Inn, and they started paying us as a band, and we had a thing, send up names. We needed to name ourselves, and we were all ready to call ourselves the good, the bad, and the ugly, and rotate the ugliness, or we really liked the bluebonnet plague. But we ended up with Saffire, and then we spelled it differently to put the fire in it, so we were doing that different spelling long before the rappers even thought about doing it. Yeah, and it stuck. But we made some T-shirts to sell to buy equipment, and one T-shirt had on it, I love Uppity Blueswomen. So a lot of people started calling us Uppity Blueswomen. Well, we were only Saffire. That was our name. But we had to, when we first went on the road full time, and that was 1988, there was another Latino woman who was top 40s, and her name was S.A. Fire. Her musicians her fans were coming to our shows. Our fans were going to her shows.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody was pissed off. So her lawyers contacted us. And like I said, she had a top 40 song, so she had a lot more money than we did, even though we had the name longer. So yeah, we had to append our name.
Right.
And we became Saffire the Uppity Blueswomen, because we didn't have that big mouthful of a name.
And what year was that you started Saffire?
Saffire, the group?
Yeah.
The group started in 1984, and we had more gigs than we could take. And then in 1988, Ann said her daughter was out of college and she was going to go full-time, and did we want to join her? And we said yes. And so we went full-time in 1988.
And when did you first go to Augusta, to Blues Week? Right about that time?
The year before. When we were at Augusta, it was just Ann and I who were there. Earlene wasn't there. But when we were at Augusta that first time, I think we fully realized that we had the talent to do it more. But the big thing was the love of the music and the feeling that you got at Augusta. It was like, I want to do this all the time.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I want to do it all the time. At Augusta, I found my dharma, if you will. I found my purpose in life. And I knew at that time it was my purpose in life to make music. And blues is such a healing, magical music that I wanted to be the griot. I wanted to be the person who is taking this music forward. And everything I write now, I use the blues tradition, which is actually hundreds of years old. But I try to keep that musical tradition alive, and then my lyrics, the content, will relate to today. So when you look at any kind of music, I guess you look at form and content, and that's the way I describe it.
Well, I really didn't as I said earlier, didn't come to know you until 1998, 99, 2000, something along in there, and you'd been touring for a while. And I mean, just frank, when I heard about it, I'm like, it's just ballsy. I mean, what you guys were doing was you were really putting it out there. You were being who you were, and you were breaking some ground, I think.
Yeah, I think the thing that was most amazing is that we first started on the road, I was 44 years old. And you just don't hear of that. You go on the road in your 20s. But Ann and I loved the music so much that we basically worked at it 16 hours a day. I mean, we did everything. We did our bookings, our advances. We hauled the equipment. We set it up. We were our own sound people. We were on our own publicity. Ann and I did it all. And I have a real good story to tell. I don't know what your time is like, but this is real important just to tell you how much Ann and I were in tune. Ms. Magazine was doing an article about us. And at the time, of course, Ms. was the biggest magazine that related to women's stories.
Yeah, I remember.
And they looked at Saffire as being a really big and important group at the time. I don't even remember what year it was. But they called Ann up, they interviewed her, long interview, extensive interview. At the end of the interview, they asked Ann, what song most typifies and most tells the story of what your music is about? So Ann thought about, first of all, songs she had written. And then she thought about, songs that I had written. And then she thought about the group and what the group plays and performs. Now, Ann knows hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, if not thousands of songs, all kinds of songs. And she came up with an answer. They called me, they interviewed me, and at the end of the interview, they asked me the same question. And I went through the same thought process because I wanted to name my own song. And then I thought about it, and I know hundreds and hundreds of songs and probably thousands of songs. Ann and I came up with the same song.
No way. Wow. So what song was it?
I bet you want to know. Well, I'm going to leave you hanging, Jeff. No.
Join us next week for...
This song was Trouble in Mind, I'm Blue, but I won't be blue always. Because the sun is going to shine in my back door someday.
Those are some powerful words, too.
And such a simple song.
That's amazing.
But it's a song of hope, a song of forgiveness, a song of embracing the fact that you're so down that you want to kill yourself. I'm going to lay my head on some lonesome railroad line, and that 219 train is going to pacify my mind. And then you say, I'm going to lay my head down on some lonesome railroad track. But when I hear that whistle blow, I'm going to pull it back. And that's what our music was all about. That's what the blues is all about. It's the poor person's psychiatrist. And gospel music is about salvation after you die. Blues music is about salvation tomorrow.
There you go.
You got to go to your job. You got to work. What am I going to do to make it through the day? Well, if you sing the blues, you'll be all right. You will be all right. And some people say that in gospel music, you go, Lord, Lord. In blues music, you go, baby, baby.
That's right. So you also, and I interviewed Andra Faye, did a podcast with her, and I know that you all met at Augusta, and after Arlene left the band, Andra Faye then played with you for, I think, 16, 17 years or something?
Andra Faye came on board in 1992, and the group ended in 2009. The group had been together for 25 years. So Andra Faye, you do the math. I'm not good in math. She was there from 92 to 2009. 92, 202. 17 years, I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah, well, you, as I said, you really paved some trails. So what you're talking about is, how music has been such a strong part of your life and meaningful and all. But how would you express the way that you've seen or experienced music affecting other people, audience, people that you've played with, not just yourself, or maybe in relationship to yourself, but you've played for thousands and thousands of people, and they seem pretty happy usually, right? How would you describe it? Yeah. What is it?
I don't know.
Thing?
Our music empowered people, and in particular women, and in further particularity, older women. And by the way, I like to say old women. When we say older or elder or senior citizen, it's like we're making old so negative that we don't want to say the word, and it's like, I'm an old woman. I've done a whole lot of living, and I'm damn proud of my living. So no, don't call me an older woman. I am an old woman. So I think we gave empowerment and joy to a lot of women in particular, and old women in particular. And I think that I always like to say that joy is my religion. And I think that it's such a God-given thing. Music is so wonderful. When I used to teach school, when I used to teach science, I would tell my kids, when you hear music, I'm opening my mouth, and this breath I breathe causes molecules to vibrate. And then they vibrate all across the room. And then they vibrate up against your eardrum. And then your eardrum vibrates and it sends a message to your brain. And your brain says, oh yeah. And then maybe your brain will tell your body, okay, I need to shake it now. You need to shake it now. But just the magic that God, call your higher power, whatever you want to call your higher power, but that we have this ability and this magic within us to create this sound. And I always say that if you sing, you pray twice. And if you sing your own song, you pray thrice. So it's all of these entities that come together in the creation of something that's just quite magical that I don't understand, but I give thanks each and every day for the blessing of music.
And you have innumerable CDs and musical experiences and songs that you've written, but you were sharing a little bit earlier you got a new one coming up. And it's going to be kind of topical, you said, and
oh yeah.
So that certainly is, man. Seems like one of the best ways you can say something, and you still got a lot to say.
Yeah, and I hope there's somebody to listen. That's the hard part now. The whole industry has changed so very, very much, so that everybody with a computer is now a record maker. Everybody with a computer can now
do a podcast.
And everybody with a computer can create a song, and everybody with a computer can have a house concert or whatever. The industry has changed very, very much. Some of it good and some of it not so good. I'm making the same amount of money today that I made in 1980, which is about $25 a gig. All things considered.
Well, I guess the live music and a lot of the performances is a little undervalued. It's good that there's so many musicians out there.
Well, back when we went on the road, we could drive from Fredericksburg to California and back and work every night of the week. Same thing with this little town, Fredericksburg. Oh, and this is something you should know. Fredericksburg has at least 8, last time I counted, national touring acts. This town, this little itty-bitty town, national touring acts. I was talking about the Dixie Power Trio earlier.
Uh-huh.
And but now in this town, it's only one venue that has regular live music, And there are a couple of others that will have a little music on the weekends, but not like it used to be even.
I guess
So,
people have so many, they're watching 40 cable channels and spending time on their phones and computers. And
phones and computers. The phone is just taking over our lives.
yeah, it sure
And,
has.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still get joy out of just sitting on my front porch and playing.
Well, some of the greatest times that I've had have been at Augusta moments. The music, people you know playing music with other people, and other things that happen just because of, your soul is opening up when you're there with all those people. I mean, it is
Almost
magical.
heaven, West Virginia. Yeah.
And it just, there is so much comes out of it. But house concerts, for example, sharing music like that, and I mean, a lot of people, it's just their lives are so busy. It's almost like they don't have enough time for music. I mean, that's what Planetary Gig Society is all about, is trying to, this conversation about, let's think about music in our lives and what
It's
it can
like I'm
do.
working on a new CD, but I'm really not sure why. I don't have a label. I don't have a group. I have lots of songs. But then will anybody listen? I don't know. But it's like, this is my dharma. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm doing it best I can, but I'm not sure why. So I'm just, God's guidance. I'll just pray for guidance as I move forward. I think that, to bring peace to this world, number one, we need to vote.
There you go.
Sounds so simple. But recently not recently, the last 3 years, I have rejoined the NAACP, and there's so much work to be done. It sounds so simple, but just to align yourself with a community organization. There's another group here in town that's working for low-income housing. It's like in Fredericksburg, rich people are gentrifying everywhere downtown, and it's just not right because we got a pretty little downtown. So in the name of peace, we need to just treat it. Jeff, is so simple. It's the golden rule. It's so simple. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Whether black, white,
Amen.
young, old, straight, gay, educated, not educated, wealthy, poor, whatever. Somebody was telling me, I know who it was a pastor of my church, and how there was a homeless man sitting on the bench, and he went over to speak to him, and the man identified himself. And he made sure, it was an older man, he made sure to call him Mr. So-and-so. And, it's so simple that we just need to respect each other. I think the other thing to bring peace to the world is just to dance.
Oh, dance, more dancing.
Dance. And if you're in a wheelchair or whatever, just shake your ass in the wheelchair or throw your hands in the air and shake it like you just don't care. But I think that's one of God's greatest gifts, is to just experience the music, not just listen to the music, but just to feel the music and respond to the music. And that's it.
All right, well, Gaye, it's so beautiful being with you in your lovely home. It's a privilege and honor, really, to know you, to have. I think you're just doing it. The world is a better place because of Gaye Adegbalola, and I'm a better person because of you. So
I'm glad you think so.
all right, so thanks very much, Gaye. Really appreciate it.
Okay,
All right.
My pleasure. Okay.
You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.